Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. In this video, I'm going to show you how I went from being a burnout doctor, overworked and underpaid, to making over $3 million of pat. Ram Ram, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, and Mataji, Dhanat Pranam, Sal Glavishta, Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for joining. Let me read this quickly actually. This is stuck today when I read. I wanted to read this one. The holy name benefits even lower species of life. All living entities, moving and non-moving, were liberated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's loud chanting of the holy name, Lord Chaitanya to Haridas Thakur. On this earth, there are many living entities, the Lord said, some moving and some not moving. What will happen to the trees, plants, insects, and other living entities? How will they be delivered from material bondage? Haridas Thakur replied, my dear Lord, the deliverance of all moving and non-moving living entities takes place only by your mercy. You have already granted this mercy and delivered them. You have loudly chanted the Hare Krishna mantra, and everyone, moving or not moving, has benefited by hearing it. My Lord, the moving entities who have heard your loud Sankirtana have already been delivered from bondage to the material world. And after the non-moving living entities like trees hear it, there is an echo. Actually, however, it is not an echo. It is a kirtana of the non-moving living entities. All this, although inconceivable, is possible by your mercy. When loud chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is performed all over the world by those who follow in your footsteps, all living entities, moving and non-moving, dance in ecstatic devotional love. My dear Lord, all the incidents that took place while you were going to Vrindavana through the forest known as Jhari Khanda have been related to me by your servant Balabhadra Bhattacharya. When your devotee Vasudeva Datta submitted his plea at your lotus feet for the deliverance of all living entities, you accepted that request. My dear Lord, you have accepted that the form of a devotee just to deliver all the fallen souls of this world. You have preached the loud chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and in this way freed all moving and non-moving living entities from material bondage. By descending as an incarnation of Navadvipa, you, just like Krishna, have already delivered all the living entities of the universe. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila 3.67, 76 and 86. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So then batti emardaitandi mata is the power of holy name is effective. అందుకే శ్రీల ప్రభుపాద కూడా చెప్తారు మనం చాంటింగ్ చేస్తే the non-moving things also purified. The power of holy name is like just like that. In the descriptions of in this pastime, Srila Prabhupada, how he narrated. And yesterday I was amazed to see our dear friends, Ravi Prabhu, Akinchan Priya Prabhu, Praveen Prabhu, and Mahalinga Ayer Prabhu. All these four devotees, Nagar Sankirtan is doing. See, our movement is preaching movement. That way, while doing their, that small kirtan with four of them, how beautiful, some may get attracted. You never know. Only it's inconceivable mercy of Krishna. Maybe in the persons who have seen that kirtana while going through the, transportation, these many people are going that way route. That effective. Nagar Sankirtana, it's Nagara Sankirtana. In our ISKCON temple, Hyderabad also, there is one devotee called Vishwakirti Prabhu. So he was there in the temple since last 3 decades, close to 34, 35 years of service in the temple. Every morning after around 6:45 to 7:30, he goes to Nagar Sankirtana every day without fail, along with 3, 4, 5 devotees, all the way through Abid's area and Nampally station. So Nagar Sankirtana, we never know. It's inconceivable mercy of Krishna. Somebody benefited through that chanting of the holy names of the Lord. That is the process. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. So let us begin with our Mangalacharana prayers. Then we'll start reading. I think Bhagavatam, right, Mata, is today? 10th canto, 10th chapter is done, I think. Translations and purports, right? Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Bhagavad Gita, Prabhuji. Bhagavad Gita is done.
Yeah. Then we have to do Bhagavatam. Yes.
That's right.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksharunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nite Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Let me open. Yeah. This be Vedas. Vedas SP 1.10. Yeah, I'm just sharing. Yeah, this is the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. First canto entitled as Creation, and chapter 10 entitled as Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwaraka. Let us read. Yes, Mother, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One second. Shaunaka Muni asked, after killing his enemies who desired to usurp his rightful inheritance, how did the greatest of all religious men, Maharaja Yudhishthira, assisted by his brothers, rule his subjects? Surely he could not freely enjoy his kingdom with unrestricted consciousness. Purport. Maharaja Yudhishthira was the greatest of all men of religion. Thus he was not at all inclined to fight with his cousins for the sake of enjoying the kingdom. He fought for the right cause because the kingdom of Hastinapura was his rightful inheritance and his cousins wanted to usurp it for themselves. He fought, therefore, for the right cause under the guidance of Lord Sri Krishna, but he could not enjoy the results of his victory because his cousins were all killed in the fight. He therefore ruled over the kingdom as a matter of duty, assisted by his younger brothers. The inquiry was important for Shaunaka Rishi, who wanted to know about the behavior of Maharaja Yudhishthira when he was at ease.
So, Mother, somehow net connected. Okay. He was
Mali Charamantara Prabhuji.
Last line.
Last line. The inquiry was important for Shaunaka Rishi, who wanted to know about the behavior of Maharaja Yudhishthira when he was at ease to enjoy the kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah, Samyukta, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the maintainer of the world, became pleased after re-establishing Maharaja Yudhishthira in his own kingdom and after restoring the Kuru dynasty, which had been exhausted by the bamboo fire of anger. Purport. This world is compared to a forest fire caused by the cohesion of bamboo bushes. Such a forest fire takes place automatically, for bamboo cohesion occurs without external cause. Similarly, in the material world, the wrath of those who want to lord it over material nature interacts, and the fire of war takes place, exhausting the unwanted population. Such fire or wars takes place, and the Lord has nothing to do with them. But because he wants to maintain the creation, he desires the mass of people to follow the right path of self-realization. which enables the living beings to enter into the kingdom of God. The Lord wants the suffering human beings to come back home, back to Him, and cease to suffer the threefold material pangs. The whole plan of creation is made in that way, and one who does not come to his senses suffers in the material world by pangs inflicted by the illusory energy of the Lord. The Lord therefore wants his bona fide representative to rule the world. Lord Sri Krishna descended to establish this sort of regime and to kill the unwanted persons who have nothing to do with his plan. The battle of Kurukshetra was fought according to the plan of the Lord, so that undesirable persons could get out of the world and a peaceful kingdom under his devotee could be established. The Lord was therefore fully satisfied when King Yudhishthira was on the throne and the seeding of the dynasty of Kuru in the person of Maharaja Parikshit was saved. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Sandhya Mata, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maharaja Yudhishthira, after being enlightened by what was spoken by Bhishma Deva and Lord Sri Krishna, the infallible, engaged himself in matters of perfect knowledge because all his misgivings were eradicated. Thus he ruled over the earth and seas and was followed by his younger brothers. Purport. The modern English law of primogeniture or the law of inheritance by the firstborn was also prevalent in those days when Maharaja Yudhishthira ruled the earth and seas. In those days, the king of Hastinapura, now part of New Delhi, was the emperor of the world, including the seas up to the time of Maharaja Parikshit. The grandson of Maharaja Yudhishthira, Maharaja Yudhishthira's young brothers were acting as his ministers and commanders of state, and there was full cooperation between perfectly religious brothers of the king. Maharaja Yudhishthira was the ideal king or representative of Lord Sri Krishna to rule over the kingdom of earth and was comparable to King Indra, the representative ruler of the heavenly planets. The demigods like Indra, Chandra, Surya, Varuna, and Vayu are representative kings of different planets of the universe, and similarly Maharaja Yudhishthira was also one of them, ruling over the kingdom of the earth. Maharaja Yudhishthira was not a typically unenlightened political leader of modern democracy. Maharaja Yudhishthira was instructed by Bhishma Deva and the infallible Lord also, and therefore he had full knowledge of everything in perfection. The modern elected executive head of a state is just like a puppet because he has no kingly power. Even if he is enlightened like Maharaja Yudhishthira, he cannot do anything out of his own goodwill due to his constitutional position. Therefore, there are so many states over the earth quarreling because of ideological differences or other selfish motives. But a king like Maharaja Yudhishthira had no ideology of his own. He had but to follow the instruction of the infallible Lord and the Lord's representative and the authorized agent Bhishma Deva. It is instructed in the Shastras that one should follow the great authority and infallible Lord without any personal motive and manufactured ideology. Therefore, it was possible for Maharaja Yudhishthira to rule the whole world, including the seas, because the principles were infallible and universally applicable to everyone. The conception of one world state can only be fulfilled if we can follow the infallible authority. An imperfect human being cannot create an ideology acceptable to everyone. Only the perfect and infallible can create a program which is applicable to every place and can followed by all in the world. It is the person who rules and not the impersonal government. If the person is perfect, the government is perfect. If the person is a fool, the government is a fool's paradise. That is the law of nature. There are so many stories of imperfect kings or executive heads. Therefore, the executive head must be a trained person like Maharaja Yudhishthira, and he must have the full autocratic power to rule over the world. The conception of a world state can take shape only under the regime of a perfect king like Maharaja Yudhishthira. The world was happy in those days because there were kings like Maharaja Yudhishthira to rule over the world.
Haribol.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Yeah. In the highest positions, all those it's called Rajarshis. They endowed with the godly qualities. That's where that time the people were peaceful. No, Rajarshi, king with Brahmanical qualities. Kshatriya plus Brahmanical qualities. Devotee. In the another sense, devotee rules the world. Right. Now, Lavanya, want to read?
And one more thing, yadyadacharate shrestha. Whoever follows
Bhagavatam. Oh, sorry, Bhagavad Gita. Correct. Yadyadi acharati
great
shrestha.
authorities were
Guru.
yadyadacharate saddat eva tarojana sayats brahmanam kurte lokoham karmam. అదేనా
Lokoham అనువర్తతే something. అంతే ఎగ్జాంపులరీ ఉండాలి. యా రైట్.
king.
వాళ్ళు ఫాలో yes, read. Yeah.
Transpadki Jai. Translation. During the reign of Maharaja Yudhishthira, the clouds showered all the water of
ఇంటర్నెట్ ఫీబుల్ ఉందనేమో, బట్ ఇట్స్ ఓకే. చదువు. Hare Krishna. Is it only with me or Matavis?
No, we can also not hear Prabhuji.
నాకు కూడా వినపట్లేదు.
అచ్చా, ఓకే. ఓకే, మన చంద్రవేల్ ప్రభు, యూ కెన్ కంటిన్యూ. చూసుకుంటుంది తర్వాత చదువుదాం. చదవండి.
ఓకే. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. During the reign of Maharaja Yudhishthira, the clouds showered all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profession. Due to its fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. Purport. The basic principle of economic development is centered on land and cows. The necessities of human society are food, grains, fruits, milk, minerals, clothing, wood, etc. One requires all these items to fulfill the material needs of the body. Certainly, one does not require flesh and fish or iron tools and machinery. During the regime of Maharaja Yudhishthira, all other world there were regulated rainfalls. Rainfalls are not in the control of the human being. The heavenly king Indradeva is the controller of rains, and he is the servant of the Lord. When the Lord is obeyed by the king and the people under the king's administration, there are regulated rains from the origin, and these rains are the causes of all the varieties of production of the land. Not only do regulated rains help ample production of grains and fruits, but when they combine with astronomical influences, there is ample production of valuable stones and pearls. Grains and vegetables can sumptuously feed a man and animals, and a fatty cow delivers enough milk to supply man sumptuously with vigor and vitality. If there is enough milk, enough grains, enough fruit, enough cotton, enough silk, and enough jewels, then why do the people need cinemas, houses of prostitution, slaughterhouses, etc.? What is the need of an artificial luxurious life of cinema, cars, radio, flesh, and hotels? Has this civilization produced anything that quarreling individually and nationally? Has this civilization enhanced the cause of equality and fraternity by sending thousands of men into a hellish factory and the war fields at the whims of a particular man? It is said here that the cows used to moisten the pasturing land with milk because their milk bags were fatty and the animals were joyful. Do they not require, therefore, proper protection for joyful life by being fed with a sufficient quantity of grass in the field? Why should men kill cows for their selfish purposes? Why should men not be satisfied with grains, fruits, milk, which combined together can produce hundreds and thousands of palatable dishes? Why are there slaughterhouses all over the world to kill innocent animals? Maharaja Parishat, the grandson of Maharaja Yudhishthira, while touring his vast kingdom, saw a black man attempting to kill a cow. The king at once arrested the butcher and chastised him sufficiently. Yeah. Should not a king or executive head protect the lives of the poor animals who are unable to defend themselves? Is this humanity? Are not the animals of country citizens also? Then why are they also allowed to be butchered in organized slaughterhouses. Are these the signs of equality, fraternity, and non-violence? Shall continue, Prabhu?
Continue, yeah, completely. Yes.
Yeah.
Jay.
Therefore, in contrast with the modern advanced civilized form of government, an autocracy like Maharaja Yudhishthira's is by far superior to a so-called democracy in which animals are killed and a man less than an animal is allowed to cast votes for another less than animal man. We are all creatures of material nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord himself is the seed-giving father and material nature is the mother of all living beings in all shapes. Thus, mother material nature has enough foodstuff both for animals and for men by the grace of the Father Almighty, Sri Krishna. The human being is the elder brother of all other living beings. He is endowed with the intelligence more powerful than animals for realizing the course of nature and the indications of the Almighty Father. Human civilization should depend on the production of material nature without artificially attempting economic development to turn the world into a choice of artificial greed and power only for the purpose of artificial luxuries and sense gratification. This is but the life of dogs and hogs. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Human civilization should depend on the production of the material nature without artificially attempting economic development to turn the world into a chaos of artificial greed and power only for the purpose of artificial luxuries and sense gratification. This is but the life of dogs and hogs. He purports he was in the Damodar, Sri Radha Damodar temple, a small room.
Okay.
Before going to west, he has completed first canto. First canto, two cantos he has completed. He has written this was in Vrindavan. His realizations he is putting in this. It's artificial. Actually, just to think about for one, it's all artificial way of life. Artificial luxuries.
వృందావనంలో టెంపుల్లో ప్రభుజీ ప్రభుపాదులు అది చిన్న రూమ్ ఉంది కదా ఆ రూమ్ లోనే కూర్చొని రాశారు ప్రభుజీ పర్ పర్సన్.
ఎస్ అదే
ఓకే
అక్కడే రాశాడు. Yeah. Chodha, Lavanya, want to read?
Yeah. It's okay now? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king of profusion. Purport. Since Maharaja Yudhishthira was under the protection of the Ajita, the infallible Lord, as above mentioned, the properties of the Lord, namely the rivers, oceans, hills, forests, etc., were all pleased, and they used to supply their respective quota of taxes to the king. The secret of success is to take refuge under the protection of the Supreme Lord. Without his sanction, nothing can be possible. To make economic development by our own endeavors on the strength of the tools and machinery is not all. The sanction of the Supreme Lord, highlight chestara, yeah. The sanction of the Supreme Lord must be there. Otherwise, despite all instrumental arrangements, everything will be unsuccessful. The ultimate cause of success is the Daiva, the Supreme. Kings like Maharaja Yudhishthira knew perfectly well that the king is the agent of the Supreme Lord and look after the welfare of the mass of the people. Actually, the state belongs to the Supreme Lord. The rivers, oceans, forests, hills, drugs, etc. are not creations of man. They are all creations of the Supreme Lord. And the living being allowed to make use of the property of the Lord for the service of the Lord. Today's slogan is that everything is for the people and therefore the government is for the people and by the people. But to produce a new species of humanity at a present moment on the basis of the God consciousness and perfection of human life, the ideology of godly communism, the world has to again follow in the footsteps of King Maharaja Yudhishthira, or King Parikshit. There is enough of everything by the will of the Lord, and we can make proper use of things to live comfortably without enmity between man and man, or man and animal, or man and nature. The control of the Lord is everywhere, and if the Lord is pleased, every part of the nature will be pleased. The river will flow profusely to fertilize the land. The oceans will supply sufficient quantities of minerals, pearls, jewels, and the forest will supply sufficient wood, drugs, and vegetables. And the seasonal changes will effectively help produce fruits and flowers in profuse quantity. The artificial way of living dependent on the factories and tools can render so-called happiness only to a limited number at the cost of millions. Since the energy of the mass of the people is engaged in factory production, the natural products are being hampered, and for this mass is unhappy. Without being educated properly, the mass of people are following the footsteps of the vested interest by exploiting natural reserves, and therefore there is acute competition between individual and nation and nation. There is no control by the trained agent of the Lord. We must look into the defects of modern civilization by comparison here, and should follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Yudhishthira to cleanse man and wipe out anachronisms.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
The meaning is actually anachronisms. What is it? A thing belonging or inappropriate to a period other than that in which it exists, especially a thing that is conspicuously old-fashioned. Cleanse man and wipe out anachronisms. Okay. Oh, yes. Next one. Mata is again. Please read. Deepa Mata. Again, no. Yes. Yeah. We only just. నేను అప్పుడు చదివిన ఇది ఓకే చదవండి వింటాను.
Because of the kings having no enemies, the living beings were not at any time disturbed by mental agonies, diseases, or excessive heat or cold. Purport: to be non-violent to human beings and to be a killer or enemy of the poor animals is Satan's philosophy. In this age, there is enmity towards poor animals, and therefore the poor creatures are always anxious. The reaction of the poor animals is being forced on human society, and therefore there is always the strain of cold or hot war between men, individually, collectively, or nationally. At the time of Maharaja Yudhishthira, there were no different nations. Although there were different subordinate states, the whole world was united, and the supreme head being a trained king like Yudhishthira, kept all the inhabitants free from anxiety, diseases, and excessive heat and cold. They were not only economically well-to-do, but also physically fit and undisturbed by supernatural power, by enmity from the other living beings, and by disturbance of bodily and mental agonies. There is a proverb in Bengali that a bad king spoils the kingdom and a bad housewife spoils the family. This truth is applicable here also. Because the king was pious and obedient to the Lord and sages, because he was no one's enemy, and because he was a recognized agent of the Lord, and therefore protected by him, all the citizens under the king's protection were, so to speak, directly protected by the Lord and his authorized agents. Unless one is pious and recognized by the Lord, he cannot make others happy who are under his care. This full cooperation between man and God and man and nature, and this conscious cooperation between man and God and man and nature, as exemplified by King Yudhishthira, can bring about happiness, peace, and prosperity in the world. The attitude of exploiting one another, the custom of the day, will only bring misery. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We'll read another 10 minutes. Okay, then see.
ప్రభుజీ ఒక డౌట్, కింగ్ యుధిష్ఠిర అంటే ధర్మరాజేనా ప్రభుజీ? ఓకే,
డౌట్ ఎందుకు ప్రభు? సేమ్ ఇంకో పేరు, ఆయనకు ఇంకో పేరు, అది మల్టిపుల్. ఇప్పుడు మీ పేరు మిమ్మల్ని చంద్ర అనొచ్చు, మౌలి అనొచ్చు, ఎట్లా.
ఓకే,
యుధిష్ఠిర. దానికి మీనింగ్ ఏదో ఉంది యాక్చువల్గా, తెలుసా?
He is the epitome of dharma కదా ప్రభుజీ. ధర్మాన్ని ఎప్పుడు
అవును.
ధర్మం అంటాడు కాబట్టి ధర్మరాజు అంటారు.
ధర్మరాజు.
Actually, he is the son of Yamadharmaraju by Amsha. Yeah. కుంతికి యమధర్మరాజు వల్ల పుడతారు.
అవును.
ఈ పేరుకి ఏమైనా మీనింగ్ ఉందా? ఎవరికైనా తెలుసా? నీకు తెలుసా?
యుధిష్ఠిర ప్రభుజీ.
యుధిష్ఠిర అంటే స్థిర అంటే సమభావం ఉంటుందా ఏంటిది? యుధిష్ఠిర. ఫైండ్ అవుట్. యా, చదవండి మాతాజీ, సంయుక్త మాతాజీ. I'll get that.
Translation. Sri Hari, Lord Sri Krishna resided at Hastinapura for a few months to pacify his relatives and please his own sister Subhadra. Purport: Krishna was to start for Dwaraka, his own kingdom, after the battle of Kurukshetra and Yudhishthira's being ended. But to oblige the request of Maharaja Yudhishthira and to show special mercy to Bhishma Deva, Lord Krishna stopped at Hastinapura, the capital of the Pandavas. The Lord decided to stay especially to pacify the aggrieved king as well as to please Subhadra, sister of Lord Sri Krishna. Subhadra was especially to be pacified because she lost her only son Abhimanyu, who was just married. The boy left his wife Uttara, mother of Maharaj Parikshit. The Lord is always pleased to satisfy his devotees in any capacity. Only his devotees can play the parts of his relatives. The Lord is absolute. Hare Krishna.
Lord, salute. Jai. Yeah. Sandhya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Afterwards, when the Lord asked permission to depart and the king gave it, the Lord offered his respects to Maharaj Yudhishthira by bowing down at his feet, and the king embraced him. After this, the Lord, being embraced by others and receiving their obeisances, got into his chariot. Purport: Maharaja Yudhishthira was the elder cousin of Lord Krishna, and therefore, while departing from him, the Lord bowed down at the king's feet. The king embraced him as a younger brother, although the king knew perfectly well that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord takes pleasure when some of his devotees accept him as less important in terms of love. No one is greater than or equal to the Lord, but he takes pleasure in being treated as younger than his devotees. These are all transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The impersonalist cannot enter into the supernatural roles played by the devotee of the Lord. Thereafter, Bhima and Arjuna embraced the Lord because they were of the same age, but Nakula and Sahadeva bowed down, therefore, the Lord because they were younger than he.
Yeah, only devotees. See, whatever pastimes there, because only devotees can play with Krishna. Only give that devotee position, right? He comes with right, all Vrindavan pastimes and various pastimes attached to these devotees. Krishna himself, this devotee, now my Leela is with, like that. Yeah. Read Lavanya.
Akinchan Priya Prabhuji join. If he wants to, he can.
Yes. Prabhu, go ahead and read.
Hare Krishna.
No problem. Read.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. At that time, Subhadra, Draupadi, Kunti, Uttara, Gandhara, Dhritarashtra,
Gandhari,
Dhritarashtra, Yutsu, Kripacharya, Nakula, Sahadeva, Bhishmasena, Dhaumya, and Satyavati all nearly fainted because it was impossible for them to bear separation from Lord Krishna. Purport: Lord Sri Krishna is so attractive for the living beings, especially for the devotees, that it is impossible for them to tolerate separation. The conditioned souls under the spell of illusory energy forgets the Lord, otherwise he cannot. The feeling of such separation cannot be described, but it can simply be imagined by devotees only. After his separation from Vrindavan and the innocent rural cowherd boys, girls, ladies, and others, they all felt shock throughout their lives, and the separation of Radharani is the most beloved cowherd girl, is beyond expression. Once they met at Kurukshetra during a solar eclipse, and the feeling which was expressed by them is heart trending. There is, of course, a difference in the qualities of transcendental devotees of the Lord, but none of them who have even contacted the Lord by direct communion or otherwise can leave him for a moment. That is the attitude of the pure devotee. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, we'll stop here. Yeah, we'll do tomorrow. Yeah. So actually, నిన్న శ్లోకాలు చేశారా మాతది? యాంకర్ శ్లోకాస్ అని చెప్పి దీపమాతది, లావణ్య, యు ఆర్ దేర్ yesterday?
అది లలిత్ మోహన్ ప్రభుజీ వచ్చారు, చేశారు. ఫస్ట్ శ్లోక చేశారు, సెకండ్ శ్లోక అలాగే ఉంది కదా, ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయమని ప్రాక్టీస్ కూడా చేపించారు. హోంవర్క్ లాగా ఇచ్చారు, అంటే ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయమని. ఫస్ట్ శ్లోక రాని వాళ్ళను ఫస్ట్ శ్లోక ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయమన్నారు. ఎందుకంటే సెకండ్ శ్లోక అదే ట్యూన్ లో ఉంటది కాబట్టి ఫస్ట్ వస్తే సెకండ్ వస్తుంది.
ఇది ఇంకా యాంకర్ శ్లోకాస్ అని ఎందుకు నేమింగ్ వచ్చింది ప్రభుజీ?
యాంకర్ శ్లోకాస్ అంటే దీని నుంచే మిగతా అన్ని కూడా రాగాలన్నీ కూడా అట్లా ఆ టోన్స్, మీటర్ అంటారు కదా. ఇప్పుడు ఒక్కొక్క శ్లోకానికి ఒక్కొక్క మీటర్ ఉంటది ప్రభు,
రాగం.
ఇక అది అదనమాట. నేను ఇట్లాంటి పనులు చేస్తుంటాను అనమాట. అంటే నాకు ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఇట్లాంటి పెట్టుకుంటే నాకు పర్మనెంట్ గా ఉంటుంది అన్ని దాంట్లో. ఆయన పంపించిన PDF లో శ్లోకమే ఉంది, బట్ ఐ వాంటెడ్ టు హ్యావ్ సినోనిమ్స్ అండ్ ట్రాన్స్లేషన్ అని 4 శ్లోకాలుగా అయితే పెట్టినా. మీరు ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయండి, నేను మిమ్మల్ని చూసి ఈ 2 శ్లోకాలు నేను చేస్తాను లాస్ట్ కు. ఎవరైనా చేస్తారా మాతాజీ ప్రభు ఈ 2 శ్లోకాలు? 10:52 చేస్తారా మాతాజీ?
ఫస్ట్ 2 ప్రభుజీ?
ఫస్ట్ టూ ఎస్. స్లైడ్ డాట్ డెస్క్టాప్ స్లైడ్ పెడతా. స్లైడ్ మోడ్ లోనే ఉంది కదా?
yes ప్రభుజీ.
yes చేయండి మాతాజీ, నేర్చుకుందాం యాక్చువల్గా మంచిగా.
చేస్తాను. శ్రీ రుక్మిణీ ఉవాచ శ్రుత్వా గుణాన్ భువన సుందర శృణ్వతాం తే నిర్విశ్య కర్ణ వివరైర్హరతోంగతాపం రూపం దృశాం దృశిమతామఖిలార్థలాభం త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చేత్తమపత్రపం మే. చదవారా ప్రభుజీ? సినోనిమ్స్ చదవారా?
సినోనిమ్స్ ఇష్టం అది, బట్ ట్రాన్స్లేషన్ చదవండి. ఇప్పుడు మీరు చేసిన తర్వాత ఇంకా అట్లా చేద్దాం, మనం ఒక్కొక్క మాత అట్లా ట్రై చేద్దాం, అట్లా విన్నట్టుంటది.
Translation. Sri Rukmini said in her letter as read by the Brahmana, O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna.
మాతది అందరూ సంయుక్త మాతది, ఈవెన్ సంధ్యా మాతది, మీరు కూడా ఒక పాటలాగానే ఇది ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయండి మాతాజీ. ఎస్, సంయుక్త మాతది చేయండి మాతాజీ.
ఎస్ ప్రభు. శ్రీ రుక్మిణో వాచ శ్రుత్వా గుణాన్ భువన సుందర శృణ్వతాం తే నిర్విశ్య కర్మ వివరైర్హరతోంగతాపం రూపం దృశాం దృశిమతామఖిలార్థలాభం త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తమపత్రపం మే. Translation. Sri Rukmini said in her letter as read by the Brahmana, O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities which entered the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna.
యాక్చువల్గా ఈ శ్లోకం ఏంది అంటే వినడం ద్వారా కృష్ణుని చూడడం అనమాట. అట్లనే కదా, హౌ షీ గాట్ అట్రాక్షన్ టు కృష్ణ బై హియరింగ్. ఆ బ్రాహ్మణ్ నుంచి వినడం ద్వారా he has ఆ రూపాన్ని చూసింది, వినడం ద్వారానే చూసింది కృష్ణని. ఇంకా మొత్తం అట్రాక్ట్ అయిపోయింది. ఇంకా ఐ వాంటెడ్ టు పొజెస్ కృష్ణ. ఇంకా నేను ఐ వాంటెడ్ టు యూనో వైఫ్ ఆఫ్ సుప్రీం లార్డ్. అంత బ్యూటిఫుల్ ఫామ్ వినేసరికి ఇంకా బాడీలీ డిస్ట్రెస్, ఫిక్స్డ్ హర్ మైండ్ అపాన్ కృష్ణాస్ ఫామ్. వినడం ద్వారా చూడడం అనమాట ఇది. బై హియరింగ్ షీ ఈస్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్సింగ్ ద బ్యూటిఫుల్ ఫామ్ ఆఫ్ కృష్ణ. ఎస్ Lavanya, I want to do. Sandhya Mataji, you want to practice? Please learn this, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah. ఇది యాంకర్ శ్లోకాస్ అన్ని కూడా మనకి ఇట్ హెల్ప్స్ మాతాజీ, మంచి శ్లోకాలు ట్యూన్లు పట్టుకోవడానికి మంచిగా. అయ్యా చేస్తారా?
Try this one, Prabhuji, but I'm very bad at sloka recitation. Please bear me.
అందరూ రకరకాలుగా బ్యాడ్ ఎట్ దేర్ ఓన్ అన్ని ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఉన్నాయి మాత. ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి కొన్ని ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఇక్కడ అందరం నేర్చుకుంటున్నాం. దట్స్ ఓకే, దట్స్ ఫైన్. చేయండి. అంటే మీరు ఒక పని చేయండి, మా ఆమె లావణ్య చదివినాక ఆమెది ఎట్లా చేసింది ఒకసారి వినండి, ఆ రకంగా చేయండి. ఓకేనా?
ఓకే ప్రభుజీ.
లావణ్య జస్ట్ గో దే, జస్ట్ డూ ఇట్.
శ్రీ రుక్మిణి ఉవాచ శ్రుత్వా గుణాన్ భువన సుందర శృణ్వతాంతే నిర్విశ్య కర్ణ వివరైరరతోంగతాపం రూపం దృశాం దృశిమతామఖిలార్థలాభం త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చేతమపత్రపం మే. Sri Rukmini said in her letter as read by the Brahmana, O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities which enters the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna.
చేయండి మాతాయి, సంధ్య మాతాయి.
హరే కృష్ణ ప్రభుజీ. శ్రీ రుక్మిణి ఉవాచ శ్రుత్వా గుణాన్ భువన సుందర శృణవాతం తే నిర్విశ్య కర్ణ వివరై హరతోంగితాపం రూపం దృశ్యాం దృశ్యమతం అఖిలార్థలాభం త్వయ్యచ్యుతవస్తతి చితం అపర్తాపం మే.
అపత్రపం. ఎస్ ఎస్, యా, యు ట్రైడ్ నైస్లీ. ఇట్స్ ఓకే మదర్, యు ట్రైడ్ నైస్లీ. కాకపోతే కొంచెం ఇది ఇందులోనే ఉంటుంది యాక్చువల్గా. ఈ ట్యూన్ ఎక్కడ హై పిచ్ ఇవ్వాలి, ఎక్కడ లో పిచ్ ఇవ్వాలి ఉండాలనేది మెయిన్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ అనమాట. సో దానివల్ల మనం నేర్చుకోగలుగుతాం ఆ ట్యూన్లు. ఏ ట్యూన్ అయినా అది లాజిక్ అంతా అక్కడే ఉంది. ఒక దగ్గర ఎక్కువ, ఒక దగ్గర ఒక అలల్లాగా ఒక్కడేసారి పైకి, మళ్ళా మెల్ల స్లో కిందికి, అట్లా. నేను ట్రై చేస్తాను. రీడ్ చేయండి, ట్రాన్స్లేషన్ చేయండి మొత్తం.
Okay, Prabhuji. Translation. Sri Rukmini said in her letter as read by the Brahmana, O beauty of this world, having heard of your qualities which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna.
Yeah, yes. Let me try. Bhagavatam 10.52-37. Sri Rukmini Uvacha Shrutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara Shunvatam Te Nirvishya Karna Vivarair Haratongatapam Rupam Drisham Drishimatam Akhilartalabam Tvayachyuta Vishati Chittamapatrapam Me. Yeah. Sri Rukmini said in her letter as read by the Brahmana, O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna. మీరు ఉన్నారు కదా ప్రభు, మన చంద్రవేల్ ప్రభు, మీరు మంచిగా ప్రాక్టీస్ చేసి ఉంటారు. ఒకసారి చేయండి.
హరే కృష్ణ. శ్రీమద్ భాగవతం 10th canto 52 chapter 37 శ్రీ రుక్మిణి ఉవాచ Srutva gunan guna sundara sruvvatante nirvishya karma vivarayir hartum gatapam rupam drusham drushamatam kiladalabam tayachyutai sadijittam tatrapam. Translation. Sri Rukmini said in her letter, as read by the Brahmana, O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities, which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna.
Yeah. Lalitman Prabhu, thank you for joining. Sajayan Prabhu, actually, one thing, Prabhu, Chandramali Prabhu, I mean, కొంచెం నాకంటే కొద్దిగా హెచ్చులు తగ్గులు చేయాలి యాక్చువల్గా. నాకు అనిపించింది ఏంటంటే కొద్దిగా ఫ్లాట్ అయింది. బట్
like Giriraj Prabhu, yeah, they will take some time, Prabhuji. They will still take more time. So the time means they will take months and years together. But let them do. Let them be stick to the process. That's it. That is the only way, Prabhuji. Because everyone has different sense in this art, Prabhuji. Not everyone can be on the same line, but still they're joining and they're practicing. That is a good part. Yeah, మనకి ఈ అర్థమైనట్టు వాళ్ళకి అర్థమవు ప్రభుజీ. కొంతమందికి ఆ సెన్స్ ఉండదు, చాలా తక్కువ ఉంటది. బికాస్ దే ఆర్ నెవర్ ఇన్ టు ఇట్. Actually, Prabhu, now what Chandramouli Prabhu was, I was the same in 2010 and 11, Prabhuji. నాకు 2 years పట్టింది ఇందులోకి దిగడానికి. So everyone has their own, what is a pace. But they are joining and doing. ఆయనకి అర్థం అవ్వట్లేదు ప్రభుజీ. యాక్చువల్లీ అది టైం పడుతుంది, వాళ్ళకి కొంచెం చాలా టైం పడుతుంది ప్రభుజీ. బట్ దే ఆర్ డూయింగ్. ఫస్ట్ రోజు నుంచి ఇప్పుడు చాలా బెటర్ ఆయన.
అదే ఆయన నెక్స్ట్ వేరే శ్లోకాలకి వెళ్ళిపోతాడు అంతే. ఇంకా
వెళ్ళిపోతారు వాళ్ళు వస్తారు ప్రభుజీ. తర్వాత లాస్ట్ శ్లోకం వచ్చేసరికి వాళ్ళు ఫస్ట్ శ్లోక పర్ఫెక్షన్ వచ్చేస్తారు వాళ్ళకి. అంటే 3-4 ట్యూన్లు వింటే ఫస్ట్ ట్యూన్ అప్పుడు అర్థమవుతుంది అన్నమాట ఏంటి అనేది. మనం ఇంకా ఫస్ట్ శ్లోకంలో ఉన్నాం కదా, సో దే విల్ టేక్ టైం. బట్ కంపారిటివ్లీ ఇట్స్ ఓకే. సెకండ్ లైన్, ఫోర్త్ లైన్ బాగానే వచ్చింది ఇవాళ అయింది. ఫస్ట్ థర్డ్ ఆయనలో కొంచెం ఇబ్బంది ఉంది. ఓకే ప్రభుజీ.
మీరు ఒకసారి ఇది చేసి ఇది కూడా చేయండి ప్రభు, సో దట్ సెకండ్ కూడా ప్రాక్టీస్ చేసి మనం ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేద్దాం. చేయండి మన లలిత్ మీరే చేయండి.
ఓకే ప్రభుజీ. ఐ విల్ డు హోల్ శ్లోక వన్స్. శ్రుత్వా గుణాన్ భువన సుందర శృణ్వతాం తే నిర్విశ్య కర్ణ వివరైర్హరతోంగతాపం రూపం దృశాం దృశిమతాం అఖిలార్తలాభం త్వయ్యచ్యుతా విశతి చిత్తమపత్రపం మే. Translation. Sri Rukmini said in her letter as read by the Brahmana, O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities, which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Either ఒకసారి చేయండి ప్రభు, so that
okay, Prabhu. కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూపా విద్యా వయోద్రవిణధామభిరాత్మతుల్యం ధీరాపతిం కులవతీ నవృణీత కన్యా కాళే నృసింహ నరలోకమనోభిరామం.
మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి అయ్యారా ప్రభు?
Yes, Prabhu. I'll do 4 times, Prabhuji, and then once I'll read translation. I will read word to word first, okay? After this, everyone repeat word to word.
ఇప్పుడు చదివినా ఓకే, మీ ఇష్టం ప్రభు.
Sorry, I'll do word to word, Prabhuji. Please, everyone repeat after me. These words are very important. Then the shloka will come automatically.
Yes.
Ka. Tva. You.
Yeah.
Concentrate on the Sanskrit words more than the English meanings. Mukunda. Mahati. Kula. Sheela. Rupa. Vidya.
Vidya.
Vayah. Dravina. Dhamabhi. Atma. Tulyam. Dhira. Patim. Kulavati. Na vrinita. We will read this 3 times. Huh? Na vrinita.
Na vrinita.
Na Vrinita.
Na vrinita.
Na vrinita.
Re Prabhuji or
Vra. Vra.
అక్కడ
వాకి రావచ్చు.
కింద అది పెడితే రూ లాగా చదవద్దా ప్రభుజీ?
యాక్చువల్లీ మాతాజీ తర్వాత మీకు ఇది ఇచ్చింది కదా, అంటే అయి సాగదీశారు కదా ప్రభు మాతాజీ.
కింద డాట్ ఉంది అనుకోండి, రూ లాగా చదవద్దా?
దాన్ని మనకి తెలియకూడదు మాతాజీ, వృ అని చదివినట్టు తెలియకూడదు అనమాట.
ఓకే ఓకే.
వృ వృణీత వృణీత న వృణీత కన్యా కాలే నర 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 సింహ సింహ. Now I will read both these two together. Practice this. Nrsimha. 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 Na అని రాకూడదు. నృసింహ. ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయండి, ఒక 5 సార్లు చేసినా పర్వాలేదు, బట్ విల్ డూ ఇట్. నృసింహ. 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 నరలోక. మనః. అభిరామం. అభిరామం. Okay, now I will read this shloka. Okay. Katva mukunda mahati kulashila rupa vidya vayodravina dham abhiratmatulyam dhirapatim kulavati navrinita kanya kalendra simha naraloka manobhiramam. Should I read once more?
Yes, Prabhuji.
2 సార్లు ఏంటో ప్లీజ్.
కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూపా విద్యా వయోద్రవిణ ధామభిరాత్మతుల్యం ధీరాపతిం కులవతి నవృణీత కన్యా కాలే నృసింహ నరలోక మనోభిరామం. Anyone can try if they wanted to.
నేను ట్రై చేస్తా, చూడండి. కరెక్ట్ మీ ఐ గో సంథింగ్.
Sure.
ఆత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూపా విద్యా వయోద్రవిణ ధామభిరాత్మతుల్యం ధీరాపతిం కులవతి నవవృణీత కన్యా కాలే నృసింహ నరలోక మనోభిరామం.
Shall I say, Prabhuji?
చెప్పండి.
విద్యా వయోద్రవిణ ధా, అక్కడ ఈక్వల్ అయిపోయింది ప్రభుజీ, కిందకి పైకి రావాలి. అదొకటి. విద్యా వయోద్రవిణ ధా, అది విద్యా అలా. ఇంకొకటి వ్రణీత, మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయండి ప్రభు 2-3 సార్లు. అది కొంచెం ట్విస్టెడ్ వర్డ్ అది. వ్రణీత ఒకటి, నరసింహ ఒకటి. ఈ రెండింటి ఈ శ్లోకాలు ఈ రెండు కొంచెం ట్రికీ అన్నమాట.
ఇది ఎట్లా ధీరాపతిం కులవతి.
ధీరాపతిం కులవతి నవృణీత కన్యా.
చాచా ధీరాపతిం కులవతి నవనీత కన్యా.
ఇక్కడికి పైకి వెళ్ళాలి ప్రభుజీ. సైన్ వేవ్ మళ్ళీ పైకి వెళ్తుంది అన్నమాట ఇక్కడ నుంచి. మళ్ళీ లాస్ట్ లో కిందకి దింపాలి.
కాలే నృసింహ నరలో
మనోభిరా. చేయండి ప్రభు, చేయండి. Yeah, now I'll stop. You please, 1 or 2 devotees, please practice now. Huh?
యా నేను ఇంకోసారి చేస్తా ప్రభు. కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూప విద్యా వయోద్రవినధామభిరమతుల్యం ధీరాపతిం కులవతి నవ్రణీత కన్యా కాలే నృసింహ నరలోకమనోవిరామం. ఓకే, యా, it's a baby step. Okay. Translation: O Mukunda, you are equal only to yourself in lineage, character, beauty, knowledge, youthfulness, wealth, and influence. O lion among men, you delight the minds of all mankind. What aristocratic, sober-minded, and marriageable girl of a good family would not choose you as her husband when the proper time has come? ఆల్రెడీ ఇంకో 1-2 డివోట్ చేయండి మాతాజీ, చేయండి ఎవరైనా 1 or 2 డివోటీస్, దెన్ వి విల్ ర్యాప్ అప్ ఫర్ టుడే.
నేను చేయొచ్చా ప్రభుజీ?
ఎవరు మాతాజీ?
దీప.
మీరు చేయకూడదు మాతాజీ, అడగడానికి. ఓకే మాతాజీ, చేయండి, అడగడం. ఎస్, చేయండి.
గాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూపా విద్యా వయోద్రవినధామభిరాత్మతుల్యం ధీరాపతిం కులవతి నవృణీత కన్యా కాలే నృసింహ నరలోకమనోవిరామం. గొంతు పట్టేసింది ప్రభుజీ. సో
పర్ఫెక్ట్ మా.
ఇంకో యా లావణ్య, ట్రై, జస్ట్ ట్రై.
శ్రీమద్ భాగవతం 10.52.38. గాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూపా విద్యా వయోద్రవినదామభిరాత్మతుల్యం ధీరాపతిం కులవతిం నవృణీత కన్యా కాలేన సింహ నరలోకమనోవిరామం.
సో మన సంయుక్త మాతాజీ, వాంట్ టు ట్రై?
రేపు చేస్తాం.
షూర్. సంధ్యా మాతాజీ, మీరు కూడా రేపు చేయండి, సరేనా మాతాజీ?
అకించన్ ప్రభు, will you?
అకించన్ ప్రభు, will you able to?
Yeah, please try ప్రభుజీ.
ట్రై, పాటలు నేర్చుకోండి ప్రభుజీ.
Yeah, bro. I'll try. Just 1 second, probably. Yeah. Katva mukunda mahati kula shila rupa vidya vayo dravina damu obhirat.
ప్రభుజీ నేను చెప్తాను, మీరు ఒకసారి నాకు రిపీట్ చేయండి, లేకపోతే సరేనా? నా తర్వాతే రిపీట్ చేయండి. ఫస్ట్ లైన్ లో మహతి దగ్గర రెస్ట్ తీసుకోండి ప్రభుజీ. లైక్ కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూపా.
కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి
ముకుంద మహతి
కులశీల రూపా. కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూపా.
ముకుంద మహతి
కాత్వా ముకుంద మహతి కులశీల రూపా
విద్యా వయోద్రవినధామభిరాత్మతుల్యం
విద్యా వయోద్రవినధామభి
ద్రవిణధా, అక్కడ ఆపేయండి, తర్వాత మభిరాత్మతుల్యం.
ఓకే. విద్యా వయోద్రవినధా abhiratmatulyam.
Ante Prabhuji. Dhirapatim kulavati navrinita kanya.
Dhirapatim kulavati navrinita kanya.
Jai. Kale nrisimha naralo kamanobhiramam. Lo tarvat rest తీసుకోండి ప్రభుజీ.
Kale narsimha naraloka manobhiramam.
Kale nrisimha naraloka manobhiramam.
Kale narsimha naraloka manobhiramam.
Jai. Practice Prabhuji, we'll get it.
Thank you.
Translation చదవండి ప్రభు.
Kunda, you are equal only to yourself in the lineage, character, beauty, knowledge, youthfulness, wealth, and influence. O lion among men, you delight the minds of all mankind. And what aristocratic, sober-minded, and marriageable girl of the good family would not choose you as her husband when the proper time has come?
Yeah, she is explaining about all the opulences of Krishna. Full 6 opulences we have, right? And all this. Yeah.
No, in this whole translation, Prabhuji, one word is very important actually. What Rukmini is emphasizing.
Abhiramama?
No. Oh lion among men. Kale nrisimha.
Acha.
You know, your devourable time means, you know, generally what happens in the love marriages and all, Prabhuji. You know, opposite happens after marriage. Like initially, the spouse or the man will flirt the woman, you know, and then he will not serve her properly. So this is what generally happens, what we see, and that's how the divorces also happen. But here, Rukmini says, you are Kale Nrisimha, you are a devouring time, and you are in the form of Narasimha. I will only serve you. That is only my position. So this is a difference from normal love letters and this love letter, Prabhuji. Material and spiritual love letters. And this Rukmini doesn't say like this. You know, when afterwards in Mahabharat, when just before the war, you know, when these Dwarkavasis come to what to say? No. Yes, when Dwarkavasis all come together to Indraprastha, then there the Draupadi asks these queens, you know, how you take care of Krishna? What do you do to please Krishna? Because she also wanted to please Krishna. So she will ask all this 16,108, what you do. Then all this 16,108, you know, there are 10 shlokas. They say that I will only serve his feet. I'll only do the chamara of him. So these are the, you know, positions they take. These love letters, no, they are not normal love letters actually, but they have some very depth in it. It is said that Acharya says the word she used, Kale Narasimha, love letter mein Narasimha ko kaun leke aate hain actually, you know. Nobody brings no love letter Narasimha. But what Rukmini wanted to show here is that he'll always be servant of yours, O Narasimha. That's it.
Yes.
సో ఎందుకు ప్రభుజీ అక్కడ నరసింహ యూజ్ చేసింది మరి అలాంటి వర్డ్?
You are always like a devouring time. You are always powerful. The only thing we can do is we can serve you. We can never control you. So that is what she wanted to tell.
So ikkada she want to express her service attitude also in the same letter.
Yeah, in the same word with Kale Narasimha, she wanted to express that I am your servant. Don't think that I will devour you. You will always devour us.
Okay. Although your opulences are lot.
Yes, you have all the qualities, but one quality you have is Narasimha. You can devour also. So I am always within my limits. I will always serve you. That's only my way of thinking.
Chala meaning undi Prabhuji akkada.
Yes, Mataji. You know, one devotee asked this question during this in Chaupati only. One devotee asked, "Are Narasimha क्यों लेके आया? मतलब वो lion ये वो मतलब of course it is good in paraphrasing it, but Narasimha क्यों लेके आना है?" So Maharaj said then, no. Narasimha means that I'll always be servant of yours. You are devouring time of everyone. You can devour me also, but please show some mercy and let me do some service to you. So we never know that why these things happen, but acharyas, we should listen to them. Then they will say that proper mood of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Mataji, it's already 9:10. We will wrap up.
Right, sure, Prabhu. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitai Gaur Hari Premanande, Hari Hari.
Hari Hari.
Thank you.